How are you guys doing? Today is Saturday, December 3rd, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I am going to review the group stage round for the 2022 FIFA World Cup that was held in Qatar. Now that we know which 16 teams will be advancing to the round of 16, I will of course preview the round of 16 by reviewing how these 16 teams would get there, and I will do this in the round of 16 preview, but I also will look at the 16 teams that failed to qualify for the round of 16 as well. Of course, congratulations to every team that made it this far in the first place. Looking first at Group A, including the host nation Qatar, the team that would finish on top of Group A would be Netherlands. They finished with 7 points after winning 2 games and drawing 1. Their very first matchup would see them beat Senegal 2-0, with their 2 goals coming from Cody Gakpo and Davy Klaassen in the second half. Their second matchup of the group would see them draw versus Ecuador 1-1, with their lone goal coming from Cody Gakpo and Ecuador's lone goal coming from Ener Valencia. Their second win would of course come against Qatar 2-0, as they would see Cody Gakpo score in the third group stage matchup. He was the only player to score in every single game in the first round. Netherlands' second goal will come from Frenkie de Jong in the second half, as they would see themselves ease through to the next round. As the winners of Group A, the Netherlands will face off against the United States today at 10 a.m. as the United States would finish second in Group B. Looking at the team that would finish second in Group A, it would be Senegal. Senegal would finish with 2 wins and a loss in their draw. Their lone loss would be against the Netherlands. Senegal would win their second game of group stage against the host nation Qatar 3-1. Their first goal would come in the 41st minute from Boulaye Dia, as they were up 1-0 going into the half. Their second goal will come from Famara Diédhiou. Qatar's lone goal of the game would come from Mohamed Muntari in the 78th minute, as Bamba Dieng's 84th minute goal would be what Senegal needed in order to win that first game. In their third group stage matchup, they would go on and beat Ecuador to earn their spot in the round of 16. Their first goal would come off of a penalty from Ismaila Sarr, and then Moises Caicedo would score Ecuador's lone goal in the second half in the 67th minute. Senegal would take the lead in the advantage in this group off of Kalidou Koulibaly's 70th minute goal, and following this win, they will now sit second in their group with 6 points. Going into the round of 16, Senegal will be facing off against England tomorrow on Sunday, December 4th. That particular matchup is going to be taking place after England would finish first in Group B, but looking at the time of it, is going to be at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Looking at the team that would finish third in the group, it would be Ecuador. Ecuador would finish the group with 4 points in the table. They would see their 1 win come against the host nation Qatar, when they would beat Qatar 2-0 in the opening matchup of the World Cup. Their 2 goals would come from Ener Valencia, one of them off of a penalty kick, and then the other one just 15 minutes later. And then, of course, their 1 draw of the group would be against the Netherlands in their second match day, where their lone goal will come from Ener Valencia, and the Netherlands' lone goal came from Cody Gakpo. Ecuador's lone loss of the group stage would be their 2-1 loss versus Senegal in match day 3. And then, of course, sitting at the bottom of Group A would be the host nation Qatar. Their first matchup would see them lose 2-0 to Ecuador on Sunday, November 20th. Their second match day would see them lose 3-1 to Senegal, as their lone goal would come from Mohamed Muntari that game. That would be their lone goal of the World Cup. They would end up losing their third match day to Netherlands 2-0, as they would be, of course, the first host nation in World Cup history to lose their first matchup, and of course they would see themselves be eliminated from the round of 16 before even playing in their third match day. But that is how Group A is fixing up, as Netherlands and Senegal are the teams moving through. Looking at Group B, England is going to be the team moving through with 7 points. They still have yet to lose in this World Cup. They have 2 wins and a draw so far. Their first group stage matchup would see them beat Iran 6-2. Their first goal will come from their elite midfielder Jude Bellingham. Their second goal will come from Bukayo Saka in the 43rd minute, their elite forward. And their third goal will come from their elite forward who plays for Chelsea, Raheem Sterling, as they were up 3-0 at the half. Their fourth goal will come from Bukayo Saka to complete the brace. After Iran scored their first goal, England's fifth goal will come from Marcus Rashford, and then their sixth goal will come from Jack Grealish before Iran would score their second goal of the game. Their second matchup would be a 0-0 draw against the United States the day after Thanksgiving, or also known as Black Friday. Their third matchup of the group stage would see them beat Wales 3-0. Their first goal would come from their forward for Manchester United, Marcus Rashford. Their young Manchester City forward, Phil Foden, would score just a minute later to make it 2-0. And then the 68th minute, Marcus Rashford would complete the brace with a 68th minute goal. With this win, of course, they would finish at the very top of the table. Their very next matchup will be against Senegal tomorrow on Sunday, December 4th at 2 o'clock p.m. This, of course, being after Senegal would finish second in Group A. The team that finished second in Group B would be the United States. The United States still has yet to suffer a loss here at this World Cup, as they have a win and 2 draws so far. Their first matchup of the World Cup would be a 1-1 draw with Wales. Their lone goal would be a Timothy Weah goal in the 36th minute, as they gave up a penalty kick to Gareth Bale in the second half. Their second matchup would be a 0-0 draw to England, and then their third matchup would be a 1-0 win over Iran. USA's lone goal in that third match coming from Christian Pulisic in the 38th minute. With this win, the United States is now holding the second spot in the group. Their next matchup will be the very first matchup of the round of 16. It'll be today at 10 a.m. as the United States faces off against Netherlands, the team that finished at the very top of Group A. Iran would finish third in Group B, as they only finished with 3 points. Their lone win in the group would come against Wales in their second match day. Iran would lose 6-2 to England. Their first goal will come from Mehdi Taremi. By the time they scored that goal, they were down 4-1. Taremi's second goal would come 13 minutes into extra time in the second half to make it 6-2. Their matchup against Wales would see their 2 goals come in extra time in the second half again. Their first goal will come from Rouzbeh Chesmi in the 98th minute, and then in the 101st minute, Ramin Rezaein's goal would help Iran get their 2-goal deficit after Wales' Wayne Hennessy would get pulled with a red card. Iran's last matchup that would have given them a chance in would see them lose 1-0 to the United States, as that lone goal was scored from Pulisic in the first half. So with this third place finish, they will not be moving on to the next round. And then finishing at the bottom of the group would be Wales. Wales would finish with just 1 point in the group. Their first matchup would see their only point come with a 1-1 draw with the United States. Their lone goal of that game would be a penalty kick from Gareth Bale. That would be the only goal that Wales would score in the group stage. Wales would lose 2-0 to Iran after picking up a red card in that second matchup, and they would lose 3-0 as they would allow 3 goals to England in the second half within a 17-minute span. So, of course, Wales and Iran are going to sit at the bottom, as England and the USA are going to be the teams that advance. Looking at Group C, the team that would finish at the top of Group C would be Argentina. Their group matches would see them first lose to Saudi Arabia 2-1. Their first matchup would see their first goal of that game come from Lionel Messi off of a penalty kick. However, Saudi Arabia would score 2 goals within a 5-minute span in the second half to see them take advantage. With their backs against the wall, Argentina would beat Mexico 2-0 in their second matchup. Their first goal will come from Leo Messi in the 64th minute, and Enzo Fernandez's 87th minute goal would be a cherry on top goal for Argentina. And then, of course, knowing they had to beat Poland to go into the round of 16, Argentina would beat Poland 2-0 in that third matchup. Their first goal will come from Alexis McAllister in the 46th minute, and Julian Alvarez's 67th minute goal would be what Argentina needed, as with this win they would finish top of their group, and going into the round of 16 they will face off against Australia today on Saturday, December 3rd at 2 p.m. after Australia would finish second in Group D. Finishing second in Group C would be Poland. They would finish with 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss, with a goal differential with just 1 goal better than third place Mexico. Poland's 1 win of the group stage would come against Saudi Arabia in the second match day. Their 2 goals would come from Piotr Zielinski and Robert Lewandowski. Their one draw would come against Mexico, as they would draw 0-0 in that first matchup, as Poland's lone loss would be their 2-0 loss to Argentina. But of course, because of goal differential, Poland will be the team that advances. The team that would finish third in the group would be Mexico. Mexico would finish with 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss, but they would lose on goal differentials to Poland. Their first matchup would be a draw versus Poland, which would result in their lone draw. Their lone loss would be their second match day against Argentina, where they lost 2-0 to Lionel Messi and Enzo Fernandez's second half goals. Mexico's third group stage matchup would see them beat Saudi Arabia 2-1. They were up over Saudi Arabia with Henry Martin and Luis Chavez's 2 goals in a 5-minute span. They were even with Poland on goal differentials, even though Poland had the advantage off of just yellow cards. Saudi Arabia's Salem Al-Dawsari's 95th minute goal would change the goal differential and basically knock Mexico out of the tournament, despite Mexico picking up the win in their final game. So that's how they finished third in the table. And of course, looking at Saudi Arabia would finish at the bottom of the group with just 3 points. Their lone win would be against Argentina in the first matchup. After Messi scored in the 10th minute, Saudi Arabia's first goal will come from Salah Al-Shehri in the 48th minute, and then their wonder goal 5 minutes later from Salem Al-Dawsari in the 53rd minute would be what Saudi Arabia needed to, of course, earn all themselves Rolls Royces from the Crown Prince. And additionally, after that, they would lose 2-0 to Poland and then 2-1 to Mexico, with their other goal of the World Cup being the goal that effectively knocked Mexico out. And then looking once again, Argentina winning Group C will see their next matchup in the round of 16 against Australia today at Saturday, December 3rd at 2 p.m. Poland making it through will see their next matchup of the group be against France. They'll face off against them tomorrow on Sunday, December 4th at 10 a.m. This will be after France would finish at the very top of Group D. Now looking at Group D, looking at France now sitting at the top of Group D, they would win this group with 6 points, having won their first 2 games of the group and losing their last one. They would beat Australia in their first matchup 4-1. Their first goal will come from Adrien Rabiot after Craig Goodwin would score Australia's first goal of the tournament. France would see their second goal come from their striker Olivier Giroud. Their third goal will come from their elite forward Kylian Mbappe, and Giroud's second goal would make it 4-1 for France. They scored 4 unanswered to take full advantage of this game. Their second group stage matchup would see them beat Denmark 2-1. Their first goal would come in the 61st minute from Kylian Mbappe. Andreas Christensen would score Denmark's lone goal to tie the game up just 7 minutes later. Kylian Mbappe's 86th-minute goal would be what France needed to advance into the third stage, already having secured a round of 16 spot. In their last matchup, they would end up losing 1-0 to Tunisia, even though they had already earned that spot for them into the next round. And having won their group, they will be facing off against Poland after Poland would finish second in Group C. Their matchup against Poland will be tomorrow on Sunday, December 4th at 10 o'clock a.m. Looking at Australia, who would finish second in their group, Australia would finish with 2 wins and a loss as well. Looking at how they fare, their first matchup would be a loss to France, as Craig Goodwin would score their first goal of the tournament before they would give up 4 unanswered to the reigning World Cup champs. Their second matchup would be against Tunisia. Australia would beat Tunisia 1-0. Their lone goal would come from Mitchell Duke in the 23rd minute. Their third match day would see them beat Denmark 1-0, as that lone goal would come from Matthew Leckie, as it would come from behind after losing their first game and earn a spot for them into the next round. Having lost their first game and won their next 2, their next matchup will be against Argentina today at 2 o'clock. They very well could be the second team eliminated from the round of 16, but of course they're still very much alive in this tournament, and they've proven a lot of people wrong. Sitting third in that group would be Tunisia. Tunisia would finish third in Group D with 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss. Their first matchup would be their draw, as they drew 0-0 with Denmark. Their second matchup would be their loss to Australia, as they gave up the lone goal to Mitchell Duke. Tunisia's lone goal of the tournament would be in their third match day, as Wabi Khazri would score in the 58th minute to give them their 1-0 win over France. However, because Australia won, Tunisia would not be able to make it in. And then, of course, sitting right below Tunisia would be Denmark. Finishing at the bottom of Group D, they would finish with just 1 point in the group. They would end up drawing their first matchup with Tunisia. They would lose 2-1 to France, with their lone goal coming from Andreas Christensen to tie the game up before conceding the 86-minute goal to Kylian Mbappe. And then Denmark would lose in their third game against Australia with the chance to go through. They gave up the goal to Matthew Leckie in the 60th minute, so now Denmark will not go through, meaning that France and Australia will. Moving on to Group E, the team that's currently sitting on top of Group E would be Japan. They would finish with 6 points after winning 2 games and losing 1. They would win their first game against Germany on Wednesday, November 23rd, after Ilkay Gundogan would score Germany's first goal off of a penalty and go into the half with a 1-0 lead. Japan would tie the game in the 75th minute with a goal from Ritsu Doan, and then 8 minutes later, Takuma Asano's 83rd minute goal would give Japan the lead and the advantage going into their next game. Japan would lose their second matchup 1-0 to Costa Rica, giving up an 81st minute goal to Kaysher Fuller. And then, of course, Japan would end up winning their last matchup, beating Spain 2-1. After Spain would score the lone goal in the first half, Japan would score 2 goals in a 4-minute span from Ritsu Doan and Ao Tanaka to send them through into the round of 16. Of course, knowing that they had to beat Spain in order to get that spot for themselves, because Germany had won the other game. After having finished at the very top of Group E, their next matchup will be, or in their round of 16 matchup will be against Croatia on Monday, December 5th at 10 a.m. This would be after Croatia would finish second in Group F. Looking at the team that finished second in Group E, it would be Spain. Spain would finish with 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss, just like Germany, except Spain's goal differential will be 5 goals better based off of their first matchup. Spain's first group stage matchup would see them beat Costa Rica 7-0. They would see goals from Dani Olmo, Marco Asensio, and Ferran Torres in the first half. Ferran Torres would complete his brace in the second half in the 54th minute. They would see goals from Gavi, Carlos Soler, and Alvaro Morata to put it away. Spain's second match day would see them draw 1-1 with Germany, as their lone goal in that matchup would come from Alvaro Morata, as he scored in the first 2 games. In their third matchup, Spain would see Alvaro Morata score in his third game of the group stage alongside Cody Gakpo as the other player to do that. I was wrong about Cody Gakpo being the only player to do it. However, Spain would give up 2 goals to Japan in a 4-minute span in the second half, as Japan would take the advantage over Spain. However, because Spain's goal differential was better than Germany's, Spain will be the second team from Group E, meaning that in the round of 16, they will be facing off against Morocco on Tuesday, December 6th at 10 a.m., after Morocco was the team that won Group F. The team that would finish third in Group E would be Germany. They finished with a win, a draw, and a loss in their group stage rounds as well. Their first matchup, of course, would end up being a 2-1 loss to Japan after Ilkay Gundogan scored the penalty kick in the first half. Japan would end up scoring 2 goals in subsequent fashion from Ritsu Doan and Takuma Asano in a 9-minute span in the second half to take full advantage of the game. Germany's lone draw would come against Spain after Alvaro Morata would score in the 63rd minute. Germany's Nicholas Füllkrug's 83rd minute goal would at least give Germany some hope going into their final matchup. Germany would win their final match day against Costa Rica 4-2. Serge Gnabry's 10th minute goal would put them above. Costa Rica would take a 2-1 lead before Germany would score 3 goals in a 16-minute span. Kai Havertz's 73rd minute would tie it, and then his 85th minute goal would give them the lead as he had a brace. Nicholas Füllkrug's 89th minute goal would put Germany up 2. They would not catch Spain on goal differential, so Germany would find themselves get eliminated in the group stage for the second straight World Cup. And then, of course, sitting at the bottom of Group E is Costa Rica. They would finish with 3 points in the table. Their first matchup would be their 7-0 loss to Spain. Their second match day would be their lone win of the tournament with their goal from Keisha Fuller against Japan. Costa Rica would lose their third match day against Germany. Their first goal will come from Yeltsin Tejeda to tie the game up, as Manuel Neuer's own goal would give Costa Rica a slight lead before Germany scored the final 3 goals of that matchup. Following this loss, Costa Rica and Germany are the 2 teams that would exit Group E, as Japan and Spain are going to be the teams that move on. Looking at Group F, Morocco would finish on top of Group F with 7 points. They'll be the first team this century from Africa that would win their group. They would finish with 7 points after they would see their first matchup end up in a 0-0 draw to Croatia. Morocco would win their second matchup against Belgium, with their 2 goals coming from Romain Saiss in the 73rd minute and their second goal coming from Zakaria Abouklal in the 92nd minute. Going into their third matchup having to win, they would go on and beat Canada 2-1 with their 2 goals coming from Hakim Ziyech and Youssef En-Nesyri in the 23rd minute, both in the first half. Following this win, Morocco will go into the round of 16 and face off against Spain on Tuesday, December 6th at 10 a.m. This coming after Spain would finish second in their group in Group E. Croatia would finish second in Group F. This would be after Croatia drew with Morocco 0-0. Croatia would get most of their points in their 4-1 win versus Canada. Their first goal would come from Andrej Kramaric to tie the game up at 1 after Alphonso Davies scored in the 2nd minute. Mario Livaja would score in the 44th minute to give Croatia the 2-1 lead going into the half. Kramaric would complete his brace in the 70th minute before Lovro Mayer's 94th minute goal would put Croatia up by 3. With this 3-goal win, Croatia will go into the round of 16, facing off against Japan on Monday at 10 a.m. That is going to be the matchup after Japan won Group E. Sitting third in Group F, would be Belgium. They would finish with 4 points after they finished with a win, a draw, and a loss. Their first matchup in the group stage would be the win after they beat Canada 1-0, with their lone goal coming from Michy Batshuayi. Their second matchup of the group stage would be the loss, as they lost 2-0 to Morocco. And then their third matchup of the group stage would be the 0-0 draw to Croatia, as with this draw, Croatia would force themselves into the round of 16 and leave Belgium behind. And then sitting fourth and last in the group would be Canada, the only nation that wasn't Qatar that lost all 3 of their group stage matches. They lost their first matchup 1-0 to Belgium. They lost their second matchup 4-1 to Croatia, as their lone goal came from Alphonso Davies in the 2nd minute. And then Canada would end up losing its third matchup of the group stage to Morocco 2-1. Its lone goal would be a Morocco own goal in the 40th minute. As following this loss, of course, Canada is going to look to try to improve this next World Cup coming up. And then last but not least, looking at the groups that would see their last games be played yesterday, looking at the team that finished on top of Group G, it would be Brazil. Brazil would finish with 6 points in the group. They would go into their last matchup having already clinched a spot in the round of 16. They would win their first matchup of the group against Serbia 2-0 with a 11-minute brace from Richarlison, including one of the best goals of the entire tourney off of his turnaround volley. Their second match day would see them beat Switzerland 1-0. That goal of that game would come from Casemiro in the 83rd minute. The third matchup of that group would see them lose 1-0 to Cameroon, as the lone goal from Cameroon came from Vincent Aboubakar in the 92nd minute. Going into the round of 16, Brazil will face off against South Korea on Monday at 2 o'clock, after South Korea would finish second in Group H. Switzerland would finish second in Group G. They would have 2 wins and a loss as well. Their lone loss would come against Brazil, which is why Brazil had the tiebreaker. However, Switzerland's first matchup in the World Cup group would see them beat Cameroon 1-0, with their lone goal coming from Cameroonian-born Brielle Mbolo in the 48th minute. Their third matchup would see them beat Serbia to earn their way in 3-2. Xherdan Shaqiri would score in the 20th minute to give Switzerland its first goal. Brielle Mbolo would score in the 44th minute to tie it up at 2 after Serbia scored 2 unanswered. And then Remo Freuler would score in the 48th minute. He would score the lone goal of the second half to give Switzerland what they needed for the advantage. Going into the round of 16, they will face off against Portugal on Tuesday, December 6th, after Portugal finished at the top of Group H. Looking at the team that would finish third in Group G, it would be Cameroon. Cameroon would finish with a win, a draw, and a loss in the tournament. Their loss would come first as they lost to Switzerland 1-0 from a player who was born on Cameroonian soil. Cameroon would end up drawing their second matchup 3-3 versus Serbia. Their first matchup would come from Jean-Charles Castelletto in the 29th minute to give them their first goal. Serbia would score 2 unanswered to end the first half, 3 unanswered to start the second half as they were up 3-1. Cameroon would see their second goal come from Vincent Aboubakar after he would get subbed on, and they would see their third goal be scored by Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting, who's currently one of the most informed strikers in Europe right now. After finishing the match tied up at 3, Cameroon would end up beating Brazil in its final matchup 1-0, with his lone goal coming from Vincent Aboubakar before he would end up taking his shirt off and drawing the red card. But finishing with 4 points, Cameroon would see themselves be eliminated alongside Serbia at the bottom. Serbia would finish with just 1 point in the group. Their lone draw would be their 3-3 draw against Cameroon. Their 3 goals would come in rapid succession from Stranja Pavlovic and Sergei Milinkovic-Savic to finish the first half, and then their third goal will come from Aleksandar Mitrovic to start the second half. Their first matchup would see them lose 2-0 to Brazil off of Richarlison's brace, and their third matchup would see them lose 3-2 to Switzerland. After they were down 1-0 off of Xherdan Shaqiri's 20th minute goal, Aleksandar Mitrovic's 26th minute goal would tie it up for Serbia, and Dusan Vlahovic's 35th minute goal would give Serbia the temporary lead, and that is currently where these teams stand. Last but not least, looking at the team that's sitting on top of Group H, it would be Portugal. Portugal would finish with 6 points in the group stage after having won their first 2 games and already securing a spot in the round of 16. Their first matchup would see them beat Ghana 3-2. Their first goal would be a penalty kick goal from Cristiano Ronaldo, making him the oldest European goal scorer in World Cup history. After Ghana would tie it up at 1, Joao Felix would give Portugal the 2-1 lead, and Rafael Leao's third goal would give Portugal what they needed for the win. Ghana would bring it close, but they would not tie it up, giving Portugal all 3 points despite winning by just 1 goal. Portugal's second matchup at the group stage would see them beat Uruguay 2-0. Both of their goals would come in the second half from their elite center attacking midfielder Bruno Fernandes. Going into their final matchup, Portugal would end up losing their last game to South Korea 2-1, as their lone goal would be Ricardo Horta's 5th minute goal to start the scoring. South Korea would come from behind as South Korea would earn their way into the round of 16. Looking first at Portugal's next matchup, they will face off against Switzerland in the round of 16 on Tuesday, December 6th. It will be at 2 o'clock after Switzerland would finish second in Group G. South Korea, like I said earlier, would be the team that finished second in Group H after they finished with 4 points. They finished with 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss in the group stage. Their first matchup would be their 0-0 draw with Uruguay. Their second matchup would see them lose 3-2 to Ghana. After Ghana's first 2 goals were scored, South Korea would tie it up in the second half with a 4-minute brace from Cho Gui-sung, before Mohamed Kudus would give Ghana the lead right back. South Korea's third and final matchup would see them beat Portugal with their backs against the wall to earn their way into the tournament. After they were already trailing 1-0 off of Ricardo Horta's goal for Portugal, South Korea's Kim Yong-gwan would score in the 27th minute to tie it up, and then Hwang Hee-chan would score in the 91st minute off of an assist from Song Hyung-min to give South Korea the 3 points, as they will go into the next round off of just having scored more goals than Uruguay. So they sit above Uruguay, and going into the round of 16, South Korea's next matchup will be against Brazil on Monday, December 5th, as that game will be at 2 o'clock. Sitting in third place would be Uruguay. They finished with 4 points as they just had less goals scored than South Korea. Their first matchup would be a 0-0 draw with South Korea. Their second matchup would see them lose 2-0 to Portugal. Their last matchup would see them score their only 2 goals of the tournament against Ghana. They were both scored by Georgian de Arrascaeta in the 26th and 32nd minutes. With this 4-point finish, they would finish third in the group and they would be eliminated from the World Cup. Last but certainly not least, Ghana would finish at the very bottom of Group H, as they would finish with just 3 points in the group. They would finish with 1 win and 2 losses. That's how you get 3 points. Their first matchup of the group stage would see them lose 3-2 to Portugal. Their first goal would come from Andre Ayew after they were trailing 1-0 to tie the game up. Portugal would score 2 more goals as Ghana's last goal would come from Osman Bukhari. He would hit the Sioux celebration as Ghana would finish 1 goal short. Ghana's lone goal of the tournament would see them beat South Korea 3-2. Mohamed Salisu would score Ghana's first goal in the 24th minute. Mohamed Kudus would score in the 34th minute, just 10 minutes later, to give them the 2-goal lead. After South Korea would tie this game up, Kudus would score in the 68th minute to give Ghana the lead and eventually the win. However, going into their final game, they would lose 2-0 to Uruguay. Considering Uruguay needed 1 more goal to go through, Ghana would end up keeping Uruguay scoreless in the second half to ensure that Uruguay would go out with them. As with this loss for Ghana and the win for Uruguay, Portugal and South Korea will be the teams that get through. With that said, these are all of the 32 teams that would compete in the 2022 FIFA World Cup Finals in Qatar. Congratulations to all of them, and congratulations to the 16 teams that made it through, as well as the 16 teams that didn't make it through this round. I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. And I do have another episode after this to preview the round of 16. So until then, thanks for listening. I hope all is well. And I even just thanks to the Google and the FIFA sites for giving me all the facts and figures. But with that said, I'll catch you with more. Thanks for really staying caught up with everything. And I promise every episode is going to be better and better from here on out. Thanks for listening. I hope all is well, and peace out.